everybody, welcome to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Leslie and Corey. Unlocking Your Truth is a talk show about metaphysics and spirituality. So every week we have a different topic under that general umbrella. And we broadcast on 101.7 FM across the Fraser Valley from the unceded territory of the Stolo Nation. And
shouldn't they get seeds by now?
That's right. Yes, they should. And you can also catch the podcast on all the major podcasting platforms. And if you want to be in the live chat room, you can join us on our Facebook group, which is called the Awaken Your Psychic Abilities Facebook group, or my YouTube channel, which is Dr. Leslie Phillips' YouTube channel. And the show broadcasts at 7 to 8 Pacific, both on the radio and for the pre-recording of the show for the next week. So if you join the Facebook group, then you get in on it and you get to hear the show before it actually goes out to the general population on the podcasting platforms and from the radio station. Well, we've had a break for a few weeks, but we're back now.
Yes, we're here, yay!
And tonight's topic is free will and predestination.
Yes, free will, predestination, and preordination. And create your own reality. Which of those is the real thing?
Sounds excellent. And so I am going to start by talking about the paradox of free will and predestination.
Sounds exciting.
I'm sure it will be. So let's just start perhaps with a definition of free will. So free will is your ability to choose, meaning that you are authentically in touch with your needs, wants, and desires, with your passion. You know what you want, you know how to get it, and you go for it. You proactively choose what you are wanting. So that's one definition of free will. As opposed to, there's some other force which is forcing me into particular choices. So something else is choosing for me, or life just happens to me and I'm a victim of circumstances. So with free will, having free will, we consciously choose. And let's break that down a little bit in a kind of a metaphysical way. So here we all are in our human bodies living on planet Earth. So the consciousness that we are looking out through these human eyes is we are in physical reality. We are in physical bodies in physical reality. Physical reality has certain qualities about it. Time is one of the qualities. Space is another quality. So time and space. When you are not in physical reality, there is no time and there is no space. This is one of the fundamental differences between body and spirit. Another quality of physical reality is action, reaction. And that is kind of like a side effect of time and space, in that you take an action and the consequences of your action are reflected back at you. So when we make a choice, that's a form of action. And in time and space, the results of the choice that we made are reflected back at us. Because here in physical reality, everything is not happening at once. Everything is spaced out, separated in time and space. If we weren't in physical reality, we wouldn't make choices, because everything would exist simultaneously. So we have free will on Earth in physical reality because of time and space, because of action-reaction. Then we get to make choices. This or that, here or there, now or then. So that's free will, and a little bit of an explanation about free will and how it works. It's basically that we get to make conscious choices. Now, by the way, we could be unconscious, couldn't we? We could be unconscious, not making conscious choices. And in which case, action-reaction is still operating. And it basically is the same as saying the vibration that you are is what is being reflected back at you through time and space. So whatever you're putting out is what is coming back at you. So you are choosing your reality either consciously or unconsciously. If you're choosing it consciously, then you are configuring your energy in a particular way in order to make that choice, in order to take those actions, in order to follow that through. Hopefully it makes sense so far. So what about predestination? So we've talked about free will, and free will seems to give us some idea that we might be able to control our reality. It seems to give us some idea that we can forge a path, follow a path, create our life. Predestination sounds like it's the opposite of free will, doesn't it?
It sure does. Yep.
Yeah, because predestination means that it's the idea that your life is predetermined, your future is predetermined. Every moment that you live in your life is somehow decided for you. So, and herein lies the paradox of free will versus predestination, because I am going to say to the idea that your future is predetermined, yes, it is, and no, it isn't. And so, remember, we were talking about physical reality, and we were saying in physical reality there is time and there is space. Outside of physical reality there is no time and there is no space. Everything in creation exists. Everything in creation exists here and now. There is no separation, there is no time and there is no space, and there is no separation. And everything exists, everything. All possibilities, all probabilities, all combinations of experiences. We tend to refer to it in our modern spiritual parlance as the quantum field. It contains all possibilities, all probabilities, everything. So any future that you could possibly have, any experience that you could possibly have, exists within that quantum field. So, I get free will and I get to choose, and yet what I'm choosing already exists, and yes, it does. So in the sense that everything in creation exists here and now, in that sense, your future is predetermined. Because outside of space, everything is. So this is the perspective that your higher being has. Your soul, your higher being is existing outside of time and space and has that perspective. It has the perspective of all possibilities, all likelihoods, all probabilities, anything and everything. It's got the perspective of that. You, in your human body on Earth, have a very different perspective because you're embedded in time and space. And so from any point in time and space, most humans anyway, can't see that full landscape of possibilities and probabilities. Okay. Because, I mean, so for example, right now, I'm not going to go, well, I can just be in Africa in a split second. Right? I don't believe that, do I? Because I'm in time and space. And so my outlook on what's possible for me or what's probable for me is narrowed down by time and space. And also by any belief structure that I have set up within my system. Maybe I believe, and this is quite a common belief, let's say you go to school and you train to be a doctor and you study for 8 years at university and then you work as a doctor. Well, you believe you are a doctor. You're not next week about to go and be a ballet dancer, because the story of your past that you are carrying with you causes you to have a belief that my range of possibilities that are open to me are I'm a doctor. And so odds are I will continue to work as a doctor in a hospital, in a GP practice or whatever it is, because that's my belief structure about the story of who I am. And so we limit our choices by our stories that we tell ourselves about who we are. And we construct those stories about who we are through this timeline, which we think is our history. However, what's actually happening is that you are blinking on and off in every billionth of a second. And you are quantum jumping through the field of all that is. And so the one that you are in the next billionth of a second is being kind of predetermined by the one that you think you are in the current billionth of a second, if that makes sense. So your consciousness gets to travel through the field by blinking in and out of pre-existing realities every billionth of a second. So, and how you connect with each reality is based on affinity. It's based on a kind of form of magnetism, in that who you are being is going to interconnect you with the reality that is a match for that. So you get to choose your reality by the energy that you are. You get to change your reality by changing the energy that you are. Most of us build up a kind of momentum. Just what I was just talking about. We build up a kind of momentum that says, I'm headed in this direction. And sometimes that momentum that we've built up in that direction that we're on the train track for is fabulous, but sometimes, perhaps it isn't. And so, but we can change our direction by changing our energy, by changing our beliefs, by letting go of the story of who we think we are. if I hadn't changed the story of who I think I am, I would still be a PhD scientist, right? So in order for me to become a spiritual teacher, I changed a lot of beliefs. I shifted train tracks. I changed the momentum. I journeyed through the quantum field through a different set of choices. So you can be on a trajectory with a momentum, creating a likely future. And so when you go to a psychic who reads your future for you, because they say, hey, your future is predetermined, what does fate have in store for you? What they are actually doing, if they're any good, is they are looking into the quantum, they're looking at your energy and how you have your energy set up. And they're looking into the quantum field and they're saying, if this person continues with this configuration of energy, then this is the direction that they're most likely heading towards. So Jane goes to see Psychic Mary and says, when will I meet my soulmate? And maybe Psychic Mary says, oh gosh, I see a lonely future. Because perhaps Jane has a set of beliefs. I'm ugly, I'm too old, nobody loves me, I'm fat, you know, I'm really shy and I can't, you know, whatever she has constructed. And so Psychic Mary is like, well, that the likely trajectory here is that she's going to continue that way unless she changes her energy. I've been told we must go for a break.
Yes, we're going to have a quick break.
So I'll say that
probably
when we
come
get
back.
Welcome back, everybody, to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Leslie and Corey, where
Hello.
we're talking about the paradox of free will and predestination and reality creation. What a fun topic.
You know, I always thought of it as, well, preordination and predestination are a little bit different, but preordination is things like you're born to a specific family, you're born in a specific time, you're, you know, in a specific economic, socioeconomic area, culture, and you know, and you come into the world with a script all pre-written, but you can ad lib at any point in time you want to. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'll talk about that in a moment, I think.
Oh, did I beat you to it? I'm sorry.
Well, no, you didn't beat me to it, but I was halfway through a thing at the end of the break, wasn't I? And then I was going to finish my thought.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
When we got back after the break.
Go right ahead, Dr. Leslie. Pretend
Yeah,
it's
well,
your show.
If I can remember, I will. So I was just using the example of Psychic Mary and Jane, wasn't I? And we were talking about how you set up a momentum within your energy field, and that momentum within your energy field informs what life trajectory you were on. And we said, well, if Jane shows up and says, when will I meet my soulmate, but she doesn't believe in herself and she feels unworthy, then Psychic Mary may make a prediction, because the path that Jane is weaving for herself through the quantum field is that it's not very likely that she's going to meet her soulmate. However, if Jane shows up and she feels fabulous and life is fun and she's enjoying herself and she's choosing all the things that make her happy, and you know, I think my life might be enhanced if I was to meet a partner, then Psychic Mary might say, well, the odds are good, the odds are in your favor, because of all this positive momentum that you're building for yourself. You know, that you're attracting positive things towards you, and you are believing in yourself, and you are believing that that is possible. Okie doke. So Corey, you brought up the idea of preordination and your definition of what preordination is.
Mm-hmm.
And you said that you feel it is this idea that when you're born into a life, you have a preordained family, socioeconomic status, culture, and so on. And I would say that can happen, but I think of it more still as a choice. The higher being, the soul, is creating a particular incarnation in order to have some particular flavor of experience. And so these parents who, dad is a workaholic and mum is really concerned about appearances, might help that person work on letting go of perfectionism, for example. And so the parents are chosen to give the new human the types of opportunities that that soul is looking for.
Isn't that preordained? Isn't that what you would consider preordained to be? Like, I'm preordained to go to that family because that's the experience I want to get, and that's where I can get that experience.
Well, I think that's semantics a little bit.
Okay.
And so the soul has chosen that. Everyone has agreed to be in relationship with one another. The only thing about the word preordained, and maybe it's just the vibration that I read in it, is that it feels like this is being done to you and decided for you. And it might feel that way to somebody who's in a family where they're saying, why am I here in this family? What do I have in common with these people? I feel like the black sheep. What, someone up there is punishing me. It can feel that way, but on the level of the soul that's created that lifetime, there's a positive choice, there's a positive reason for it.
Definitely. I agree 100%. I think I agree. It's more semantics, preordained, predestined. I think we definitely choose where we go, and it's not like there's a large line, conveyor line of souls, and they just every time they, like the Walt Disney version where you jump into the funnel and you end up in family A, and then the funnel moves, you end up in family B.
Well, and conscious, your level of consciousness plays a part, because again, remember I was saying on the momentum train, you can be on a momentum train. I don't know, let's make one up. Heavy self-judgment and judgment and criticism of others and lack of forgiveness. And you live out your life on that momentum train. You are also setting in motion the next iteration of that in another lifetime, right? Because if you're unconscious and you're not working on yourself and you're not changing that, then that will continue on to other lifetimes until you learn that lesson. But you could also be a highly conscious person and consciously decide from the physical lifetime what you want your next incarnation to be. And you can work on what you want your next incarnation to be from the perspective of a lifetime that you are living. And so your reality, you can make your choices consciously or unconsciously as this level of who you are living the human lifetime.
Definitely.
So, everything exists here and now. what you are is reflected back at you. And if you are in physical reality, you are embedded in the illusion of time and space. So it seems to you that everything doesn't exist, and that everything is separated out by time and space, because you can only have a finite portion of experience within the context of the human body.
Very true. So I'm just telling folks to get their questions ready.
Yeah.
Because I think you're there at the point where.
I think so too. I mean, I think you wanted me to talk about reality creation, but we kind of did.
Yeah.
In our journey into free will and predestination.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Whenever anybody comes to me and asks me what their future is, which doesn't really happen very often these days, because I think people know that I'm not the kind of person to come and ask that. But if they do, then what we say is, okay, I'm not going to predict your future for you, because you are the creator of your reality, and you can consciously create your reality. And if you are not liking your reality as it is now, then you can change it. However, I may, depending on the person, give them an estimation of where they're headed and what the probable likelihood of a future scenario might be for them. Okay, so I don't know, I'll make something up. Will I move house next July? Well, I see that there's a 10% probability of that, or whatever it is, right? But I think that it's not, I think it's more useful to people to teach them how powerful they are, to teach them about their energy, to teach them how to shift and change their energy so that they get the results that they are looking for, as opposed to bobbing around on the ocean of chance, because they're not paying conscious attention to their energy.
Definitely.
Do we have any questions, Corey?
We actually we actually do. Let me just grab them here. And the first one's from Brian. And Brian says, so we don't truly manifest in the traditional sense. We shift our vibration, and the reality that has whatever it is we want to manifest is aligned with that vibration. So we just shift into it. Pretty deep. This is making sense with the things that have occurred lately.
Yes, it's a shift, isn't it, in the way that we look at it, Brian?
Yeah.
Yeah, but it can appear like, I mean, you know, if I was a master of this, I could probably make an apple appear out of thin air.
Well, there are people that do. I mean, you know, there are people that this does happen to. I know there was a fella actually here in BC, about 20 years ago, that could make things just appear out of nowhere. And people say, why doesn't he make a big pile of money? Because that's not what he's there for. That's not what it's all about. But I never get a chance to see him, but next time. This is from Nancy. Nancy says, it may start out being preordained, but through free will, we can change that.
Can you read that again? I didn't hear the first part.
It may start out being preordained, but through free will, we can change that.
Yes, you can. So, for example, some of you may have had your intuition blueprint done with me, your psychic ability blueprint. And that is a kind of a profile of psychic abilities that we might say is preordained, in that you come into this lifetime with that toolkit, because that toolkit is what you need to fulfill the purpose that you are coming in with. But you could change your mind, or with boots on the ground, and change your mind. Or you could fulfill that purpose and still have plenty of time for something else. And so people will, in those circumstances, through free will, make a shift, make a change. And I've seen that happen. I've seen people's psychic ability blueprint completely shift as a result of those kinds of things. So yes, you always have free will to, and so it might be, for example, you've programmed into your life some ideas, some people that you might encounter along the way, some souls that you are, connected with, where there's a potential. There's a potential perhaps for a close relationship and for it to play out in a certain way. But you have free will whether that ends up happening, and so does the other person.
That was from Nancy, and actually Nancy, if I'm not mistaken, has a second part of that question. Basically, she says, if I don't like my reality with my son, how can I change it besides changing my actions? I think you covered most of that.
Well, okay. You certainly, so if you don't like your reality with your son, apart from changing your actions, you can change your emotional state, you can change your thoughts, you can change your beliefs, you can change, I guess, your reactions. And you can also change any dependency you have on any particular outcome, or any way in which you are wanting him to behave or perceive you, or any of that. So you can set yourself free of a locked-in kind of situation.
Yeah. Thank you. This one's from Lorraine. Lorraine says, since I create my reality, why does it surprise me?
Well, Lorraine, are you fully consciously creating your reality in every billionth of a second? No, I don't think so. So that's why it surprises you. And also that's the whole point of a life here embedded in time and space, so we can be surprised. If you weren't in a body on planet Earth, right? If you were just existing at the level of your soul, well, nothing would surprise you. Nothing could surprise you, because there's no time and space. So in it, we're playing a game of hide and seek, actually. We're sort of hiding parts of ourselves from ourselves. And then depending on what choices we make, it's popping into our reality. So yeah, that's why. Time and space. And so at the level of your soul, you're not surprised by anything. But at the level of Lorraine, boots on the ground on planet Earth, then yes. And so if you were a great master being in your physical body, consciously creating everything, then you might not be so surprised. But even then you would be if you were in a body still. I hope that answers your question.
I hope so. So are we ready for another? In my case, it would be my parents going, "Oh, you'll never do that." Surprise, I did. Won't mention what it is, but next question is from, what was a lot of them? It's from Katie. Katie says, you mentioned something about future lifetimes, and maybe I misheard you, but are we able to, with intention, make choices about our future lifetimes? Do we need to? Should we? Yes, there's homework.
You can. Should you? That's up to you. That's part of your free will choice. If that's something that you want to focus on and you focus on it, then you can create that for yourself, or not. So yeah, I mean, you are creating future lifetimes by the energy that you are now. But you could consciously meditate and project a future that you're wanting to walk yourself into. Were you doing your time for a break, Corey?
Yes, right now our future predestination is that we have to take a pause for the cause, as they say.
I predict some advertisements coming up. Welcome back, listeners. You're listening to Unlocking Your Truth, where we're talking about free will and predestination and reality creation. And we're at the time in the show where we're taking your questions.
Yes, we are. This is from Carol. Carol says, I wonder if we need to tune into the frequency of what we want to create in our reality. How would you know which frequency it is for different manifestations?
So
basically, how would you know what the frequency of something is if you don't know what it is?
So you're asking that from your intellect, Carol, but I will answer it. So if there's something that you want to create, then you have an enthusiasm about it, a passion about it. And so by tuning into the frequency and vibration of your passion, and by allowing that to be the dominant frequency within you. And so if there are opposing frequencies like doubt or unworthiness, then you would need to release them so that you've got that predominant vibration, matching vibration for what you're asking for. So it's be the vibration of what you are, and you tune into that through your passion, through your desire, through how you would feel if you were already in possession of that which you were asking for. So you feel yourself into the frequency. So it's, if you don't intellectualize it and you just tune into something that you love and you want, and you can feel yourself into the vibration. Next question.
Next question. Thank you, Dr. Leslie. Next question is from Christine. Christine says, it can be scary how good I can be at, it's God here, but it's good. How good I can be at manifestation. I mentioned something and I see it so often. I mentioned spiders and 3 big ones, including a tarantula, showed up in a few days. Okay.
What's the question?
I don't know. She's making a comment. I think in that case, Christine, I think it's time you started expanding your horizons on what you're looking at.
I like the typo, how God I am at manifesting.
Yeah. God, I am. Yeah,
you
God, you are.
Manifesting.
You are creating spiders. On the 8th day, you created spiders. Okay. So, so this is from SG. SG says, hello, I asked my oracle cards how I can stop being so sad and worrying all the time. The answer I got was faith, prayer, and working with water. Can you tell me if I heard this message correctly?
Okay.
Thank you for that question.
Right, so SG feels sad and worrying and is asking how can she or he not be worrying. So I would say faith is a good way to go. Faith in your self, faith in your own higher being, faith in divine source. Prayer is another word in a way from meditation, And so focusing on what it is that you are wanting. So if what you are wanting is happiness and joy, then meditating on releasing the sadness and the worry, asking for your vibration to be raised above those vibrations. And water, well, water is very, water is in everything, and most of what's in our bodies is water, and water is an amazing substance. One of the things that it is very cleansing, so it can help you release and let go. And water also can be programmed. So for example, you could have a glass of water, and you could stick a label on the glass of water, or have a mat and write something on it, and you could write joy or love or gratitude, and leave that glass of water to take on the vibrational frequency of that word, and then imbibe the water, and you are giving yourself a dose of gratitude or love or joy. And that water that is programmed with love is going to transfer to all the other water in your system. And so you can flush out the sadness and flush in the love by programming water with the vibration of what you are wanting to step into.
Yeah. So that's why you have to be very careful if you decide to get a tattoo. That's why you have to be very careful what type of tattoo you get, because you're actually doing exactly that to your body. You're putting that message right on your body.
Love and hate.
Yeah, love, hate, evil.
Measure. Yeah.
Yeah. And if you look at if you watch that movie Down the Rabbit Hole, at one point, our heroine, she's sitting in a bathtub and she's writing love, joy, happiness all over her body. And it just hit me that when I saw that, hey, that makes sense. Why put it in a glass of water when you can actually put it right on yourself? Don't use indelible markers though, please. Okay, next. This is from Brian. Brian says, how does it work if we say make soul agreements with people who are to be a romantic soul mate relationships to learn, grow, evolve? If after we incarnate, we change and stay single or something, how does that affect our lives and the other person's? How do the lesson relationships, what happens then?
Well, that question is really, the answer to that is, it depends on the individual circumstances of anyone creating that circumstance. But I would say, let's say you have a soul agreement for a potential romantic relationship with somebody, and then one of you decides they're not interested. Well, the other one can still create that experience with another person. Right? That we have many souls in our soul group and many potential relationships. So you can still create what you are wanting with another soul. And I mean, maybe you're talking about the circumstance, Brian, where you're the one who wanted the relationship and it didn't happen. And I would just say, well, you still can create it. And if that is the case, just look at yourself and what vibration you're putting out about it, what story you're telling yourself about
it. Had to giggle there, did you?
Well, I just saw, I think it's Chris saying how she's covered in tattoos.
Yeah, I know, I saw that too. Yeah. Yeah. Not the erasable kind, I guess, either, no. This is from Shannon. Shannon says, hello, lovely Leslie and Mr. Corey. Thank you for spelling my name right. I'm so happy you're back. I've been working on manifesting and creating my reality in meditation for my career and through inspired actions. May you read my energy for how I'm doing on my real estate path and its projection, even though you're only looking at probabilities from my field.
Okay. So in order to explain what I'm reading, that we've got, I'm going to say the symbol of a diving board. It's like the symbol of a diving board is representing you and where you're at. And you haven't dived off, you haven't left off the diving board. It's there, the pool, maybe the swimming pool represents the potential of all of this. It's there, it's waiting for you to dive in, and you haven't quite dived in yet. So let's have a look at why not. But I would just say, like, your energy is, I would say, like 70% there, right? So it's looking bright, it's looking good. So I don't want to invalidate all the work that you've done, because it's clear that you have. It's looking great. But you're asking, you know, if there's any little piece still holding me back, and it looks like there is a little piece. So I'll see if I can see what that's to do with. Well, it's funny because it's all there waiting for you, and it's like a big it's a shift, and it's a sense of freedom as well, and it just feels like it's to do with the unfamiliar, that you've got certain parts of yourself that are really familiar, and there's a little bit of, I guess, not exactly fear of the unknown, but it's just that point where you have to take a leap of faith. And it looks like what the leap of faith is actually about reprogramming your financial abundance. And the thing that I'm seeing that's the little bit that's still there is some programming around financial abundance that comes from your background, that comes from your family, that are limits around financial abundance. And what you're planning for yourself is the opposite of that, like complete financial abundance and freedom. And so maybe just looking in that area to do a little bit of extra work, deprogramming that. But it looks good.
Brian just said a good observation on tattoos. That might explain my avoidance of them. I saw something the other day that I found interesting. It used to be that if you had tattoo sleeves, that means you know you're going to murder somebody way back when. And now it just means that you like to use a lovely vinaigrette on a beautiful arugula salad. You know, it can mean both things now.
I'm sure Chris will tell us whether she eats a lovely vinaigrette on arugula salad, because I don't think she does. I think she grabs a bowl of cereal.
She says, "Oh shoot, I have a sleeve." Oh, so either you're a cook or you've got a sideline. No, I'm just kidding. There's nothing wrong with tattoos. I never wanted one. Okay, so next question is from Marlena, and I think Marlena is new. She says, "I grew up in, I guess you would say, preordained family that was not good. Not the same energy. I felt different from them. I have made changes in my life and created my own energy. Who is feeling more like myself, and I am in a career I belong that makes me feel right. But why do I still feel misplaced?"
Oh, that's an interesting question, isn't it? Because it sounded like, you know, I've changed
Got
all
my
of
stuff
this.
together, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you're showing me this idea that you're in the game, but you're standing on the sidelines, which is like, we might say, with your birth family, you weren't even in the right game. They were playing a completely different game. And then you found the game you want to play, but you're still standing on the edge of the pitch. Or you're showing me like a big jigsaw puzzle. And it's like, okay, I'm part of this picture, but you're not yet occupying completely the puzzle piece that you are. So it just feels like you're on the path, but you're still searching for the complete picture of you. So I wouldn't lose faith and hope. I would just say, keep going and keep following your passion and keep following what feels good to you. Choose yourself. Choose yourself. You've been, just keep choosing yourself. So it's just, you're on the journey.
Yeah, that's an important word, Dr. Leslie. I think that a lot of people forget is that we're on this, it's a journey and it's not over until it's over. And even then it's not over. So there is no point finale of anything. And also what you said, Dr. Leslie, about choosing yourself. It took me a long time. It took me till I was, in my 40s to decide to choose myself. And even sometimes now it's still difficult, but that was a real cathartic experience in my life, choosing myself over everything and everybody else. And it may sound selfish, but it's not selfish. It's got not. You're here for your journey. You're here for your experience. You're here to expand yourself. You can't control anything else in life. But when you have enough wherewithal to be and choose yourself, it makes your life different. Your life will definitely change. Very much so. This is from Erica, and I think Erica is new as well. Hello, when trying to figure out what path to do in terms of career or business, and you're having trouble receiving trusting guidance, what do you recommend? I've heard that if it is guidance from your higher self spiritual team, /spiritual team, it won't be something you still are unsure of. Is there any way to know for sure if it's your own mind or their guidance? Maybe a better way to phrase it would be best ways to figure out what your pre-planned life path is. Good question. Leslie
Good
will
question.
like that.
Long question, but I won't ask you to read it again. So you can still be uncertain. If it's coming from your higher being, you can be uncertain. If it's coming from God, you can be uncertain. If it's coming from your benevolent guides, you can be uncertain. So you can get in your own way with all of those things. And one of the biggest blocks to receiving your highest guidance is the intellect. And when we're making life decisions like career and this and that, we tend to go into our intellect and bog ourselves down with pros and cons and going round in circles, and the intellect will doubt your intuition and will prevent you from hearing your intuition. And so what you said about, well, I won't doubt it if it's coming from my guides. No, you still could doubt it. And, and is it coming from me? I also just wanted to point out that the very best source of information and guidance is you, is your higher being. It's not from some guide that isn't you or somebody else outside of you. It's always you, your inner voice, your higher being should always be a touchstone for your choices. So is there any part of that question that you feel I've not covered, Corey? Because it was a big, long question.
No, that's fine. But the issue is that we're pretty well there anyway at the end of the show, Dr. Leslie.
Okie doke.
Yeah. And it was a wonderful show. And folks, if you want to hear about it, if you want us to cover something in the show, please send us an email at info@drlesliephillips.com.
Yeah, we'd love you to do that. As you can imagine, we've been doing the show for 7 years, and every week we must come up with a topic. So yeah, write in and make your requests, because we'd love to respond
Yep.
to that.
And so until next week, bye-bye to all and enjoy.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye now.
Bye.